Korvold Fae Cursed King versus Golos Tireless Pilgrim, Ruric Thar the Unbowed, and Oloro Ageless Ascetic. 2 lands in hand with Ozar and Crucible of Worlds is very good. We just need 1 more land. And then hopefully, I think I'll go for Crucible first. Then surprise our opponents with Ozar and get a bunch of Marsh Flats into play. I think that should pan out alright for us. Maybe we'll even draw into another black mana for Bloodghast. Let's throw that in the bin and go for... we'll go for red and black here. Alright, just a tap land from everyone apart from the Elvish Mystic for Ruric Thar. We get into that black mana that we needed, so we're potentially helping out 2 players here, but let's get down the Urborg so that I can play the Bloodghast. Oloro just passing the turn with 2 blue mana held up, and there is a Devoted Druid from Ruric Thar. We've also got the Grove of Burn Willows, so we'll all be gaining some life from that over the course of the game. Then a Rampant Growth from Golos, just setting up their 5 colours. Deciding to go in for a Snow-Covered Plains, and we get another land, so we'll save the Prismatic Vista in case we want to get back Bloodghast or something like that. We'll go for Crucible of Worlds and hope that it doesn't get countered. Well, Oloro didn't counter it, but we're going to go in at Oloro, as I'm sure the Esper player will understand because they are gaining life here. And we can't block with the Bloodghast anyway, so we might as well swing in. Alright, a Toxic Deluge to slow down the Gruul player. So they are back down to 2 mana. Let's hope that they drop a land now. A Cavern of Souls is something I'm sure Oloro doesn't want to see. Followed by a Tinderwall. Sacrifice it for a couple of red. Red and sack it deals 2 damage to a target creature that it is blocking. Golos playing a land and passing straight through the turn. We get into yet another land. I always draw lands with this deck. Let's go Ozar. And we'll start making use of this Marsh Flats. We could actually go for Wasteland and take Golos out of the game, but I don't want to play like that. If Golos gives us any grief, then we'll certainly start going for that though. Not going to show everyone that I've got a Wasteland yet. Forsake the Worldly onto the Crucible of Worlds. So that's the end of our tactic with Ozar. We've still got some lands to play if we want to though. Yeah, so we can actually leave Marsh Flats in play if we want to. But that gets exiled. We do still get back our Bloodghast. We'll say yes there. Go for the Prismatic Vista. And let's Demonic Tutor for a Skull Clamp here, I think. Because we've got a couple of fetches. And we've got the Bloodghast as well. So that'll be some nice card draw, assuming that our Bloodghast doesn't get killed off. Drop the Wasteland and use it as a Rattlesnake effect. If anyone wants to point any removal at us, they're going to risk getting Wastelanded. Demonic Tutor for Oloro now. And it's noteworthy that they've tapped down one of their blue sources to do that, so it may be that they don't have counters in hand. Followed by a Mana Crypt. That may have been what they tutored for. And then going in for Force Field. The next time an unblocked creature of your choice would deal damage to you this turn, prevent all but 1. So most likely going for a Pillow Fort prison style deck over there. We obviously don't know what their actual win tactic is though. Reclamation Sage from the Ruric Thar. The only 2 targets are over here. And they decide to go after the mana. I think that's what I'd go after as well, although there's an argument to be made for this thing because Ruric Thar wants to deal a lot of damage as soon as possible. And we often want to get down commander damage as well, so that thing is going to have to go at some point. Not making a land as well, they've only got 4 cards in hand over there. Now it is the first commander of the game, Golos, Tireless Pilgrim. They've only gotten basics out of the deck so far. And continue to go for basics, a snow-covered island. So they now have all 5 of their colours thanks to our Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth. Maybe that the Wasteland kept them off of going for a non-basic there. Alright, Words of Wilding is next time you would draw a card, you can create a bear instead. This actually goes infinite with Ashnod's Altar and our commander. Yeah, so let's drop the Skull Clamp. I should have swung him with Bloodghast first, actually. Yeah, let's swing him with Bloodghast. We're risking removal here, but it'll have to be free removal for the Skull Clamp. Let's just go in at Oloro. Okay, deciding to pay into the force field, so they'll only be dealt 1 damage by the Bloodghast there. I highly doubt that'll be of any relevance, but you never know. We might take our opponent out by just 1 point of damage. Let's now go for the Clamp onto Bloodghast. Plan on refilling my hand here. Alright, getting to Goblin Bombardment. Let's crack. We'll go for a red with Prismatic Vista. And that will bring back our Bloodghast with Landfall. Then we'll go for the Kerkeep, because I want to hold up as much coloured mana as possible. We've got 2 more land drops if we draw into any more lands from here. Okay, there's a 3 visits, so we can get landfall off of that. Let's crack this for landfall first. We'll get a Bayou. And down that comes again. Tap that green mana. Go for the Clamp again. Okay, and we get into a Mana Crypt. So we'll definitely play that out. And we'll go for landfall with the 3 visits. And then we'll have mana floating for the Bloodghast Skull Clamp again. We'll just grab ourselves a Tiger in this instance. Then we'll go for the Clamp yet again. And now there's a Dockside Extortionist, which will only give us a couple of tokens. So do we want Goblin Bombardment or the Caustic Caterpillar? I think we go Goblin Bombardment here. And I think we've done alright there. We'll just leave it at that. Didn't get into as many lands as I would have liked. But we progressed our lands by... we got the Kerkeep and a land from the 3 visits. Oh, and we got the Mana Crypt as well, so we have progressed some mana at least. Now it is a Moat from Oloro, so definitely going in for the Prison deck. Maybe this is Super Friends or something like that. They've only got 3 cards left in hand. But that will switch off Ruric Thar. Might actually buy us enough time to finish durdling around and actually try and get a victory off here. They've also tapped down and not held up the force field. Eldritch Evolution, sacrificing the Reclamation Sage. They also sacrifice the Tinderwall for mana. So they can grab a 5 mana creature here. Might be Acidic Slime to go after the Skull Clamp, which wouldn't be the worst thing. I think it's pretty much done its damage at this point. They might not go for that thanks to this Wasteland being held up though. They are struggling on mana, so it's not likely that they'll get back into the game if we Wasteland them. No, they decided to go for Treasonous Ogre. Pay 3 life to add red. So they might actually dump a bunch of life into getting Ruric Thar down here. Instead, going for Kiki Jiki, they are down to 27 life. Bear in mind, none of these creatures can attack thanks to the moat. Oh, then going for a Wheel of Fortune. Yeah, I'd rather our opponent hadn't done that. But we might get into a bunch of lands to carry on with our Skull Clamp shenanigans. Yeah, we've actually got a pretty good hand there. Alright, well, that's a boatload of mana, at the very least. So, getting our opponent into another land, thanks to that wheel. Getting Oloro into a bunch more cards as well, though. Let's see what everyone discarded. Nevermail's Disc, or Winter Robe's good to get rid of. A Nether Void, and the Mana Crypt was already blown up. Ruric Thar had in hand the Wheel of Fortune, the Woodland Bellower, Garruk Wildspeaker, they didn't have enough mana to cast, and then Rex Sage we knew about. And then over here, Song of the Dryads, really good removal. Beast Within, more removal. Sun Titan, yeah. Golos had a really good hand. They have Tron in the deck apparently. A Chroma's Vengeance, yeah, just a bunch of removal. This looks like removal tribal to me. Oh, and then a Possibility Storm, excellent. It's going to be one of those games, is it? But the Ruric Thar is down to 6 life at least. And no one can attack currently. Now down to 3. They can't add any more mana with this thing. Yeah, and deciding to undo that. And not cast any more spells by the looks of it. So we'll see what incredibly broken things the Golos can storm into. Possibility storm into, that is. Golos deciding to just activate his ability. Deciding not to cast anything, even though there's a full grip of 7 there. What's been exiled? Oh, just a bunch of lands and a Verdant Force. And does that count for the Possibility Storm? No, apparently not. Whenever a player casts a spell from their hand, so they can still get stuff out with Golos without being interfered with the Possibility Storm. We can still get our commanders out as well, which is noteworthy. Now we've got some more landfall. We've still got our Skull Clamp, don't forget, and Verdant Force I've been making use of or trying to make use of in Grum Gully. That throws out a token every turn. And we get into a spawning pit. Right, what do we want to do here? We've got 13 artifacts in the deck, so yeah, these things could turn into anything really. Let's try and get down Urza's Bauble, because it's free, and we'll just see what happens here. Okay, that turned into Animation Module. That actually combos off with our commander and Ashnod's Altar, so we've got some more artifacts in hand. We could try and get that going. What to do here? Let's play a land so that we can sacrifice the Bloodghast to our commander, and then we'll play our commander. That comes down and we sack the Bloodghast. That puts a plus counter on Korvold. And then whenever we put a plus counter on something, the animation module triggers. So we'll just pay with the Keep. Put mana into that to make a servo. Let's get down the Lightning Greaves and see what that turns into. We're after an Ashnod's Altar here, really. Although, Mana Vault, that's more mana at least. And it's sack fodder for after we've used it for mana. So let's tap that down. Try the Sol Ring. We Possibility Storm into Solemn Simulacrum. So we'll get another land into play here and get our Bloodghast back into play. Let's just grab a Swamp in case someone plays a Blood Moon. Out comes the Bloodghast again. And then we'll go Spawning Pit in an attempt to get that Lightning Greaves. I think with Possibility Storm it goes back into your library, doesn't it? Then put all cards exiled this way on the bottom of the library in a random order. So should have shuffled if we're after something like that. But we've got the Phyrexian Altar. Phyrexian Altar combos with the animation module as well, so if we can untap like this, we can take someone out of the game next turn. So in that case, we'll go for the Skull Clamp onto Bloodghast, refill our hand, and then play the Verdant Catacombs. Say yes to the Bloodghast again. Then clamp the Bloodghast yet again. And it's just rinse and repeat at this point with the Bloodghast and the Skull Clamp. Shuffle up the library, try and get into that Lightning Greaves again, although if we're not going to get into it this turn, I don't suppose it matters. I'm not going to put mana. No, I'm not going to put mana. I don't want to show our opponents the combo. I don't think this is a commonly known combo, so I don't want them to be aware of it just yet. Although it might be that they can't actually do anything about it with Possibility Storm in play. Get down the Badlands. And then we'll clamp again. onto the Bloodghast. I don't know if we've got another land to make, actually. Yes, apparently we do, so let's carry on. In fact, we could just keep Bloodghast in play, because we've got a sack outlet, just in case someone goes for exiling graveyards. I think I'd rather do that. So let's go in for attacks. Someone does have less than 10 life, so this actually has haste. Oh, but they can't attack thanks to Moat. Yeah, forgot all about that. So we just passed the turn here. And discard the Anger. Too late, unfortunately, but we'll get that in the bin anyway. And then Sakura Tribe Elder is a good way to trigger Grave Pact. Yeah, this could actually be a free creature, effectively. 2 mana for some kind of big creature thanks to Possibility Storm, so let's instead go for sacrificing the Thrinax. And I want to keep the Prossh in hand, just in case someone manages to get rid of the Ruric Thar player, and then we can actually play this next turn. Oloro untapping with a full hand is not good for us. Cracking the Terramorphic Expanse. Then a Supreme Verdict. Can't be countered, but looks like Oloro is aiming for storming into a board wipe, which they may well do, because if this is Super Friends, then they'll have a lot of board wipes in the deck. And they get into Cataclysm instead, so there you go. Each player chooses, from amongst the permanents they control, an artifact, a creature, an enchantment and a land, and sacrifices the rest. Fun times. Yeah, if we had some kind of token doubler, we could go infinite with the animation module and then sack the surplus tokens with Goblin Bombardment, but we don't currently, unfortunately. So let's go like that. We'll point some stuff at our opponent. Get rid of this Ruric Thar player, because this Possibility Storm is not doing us any favours. Alright, and we draw into a Field of the Dead. I'm going to put some mana into the animation module so that we've got more sacrifice shenanigans with the Goblin at Bombardment. Sacrifice the Solemn this time. Draw into a Garruk and the Diabolic Intent. And we're not going to keep Wasteland, are we? Because Cataclysm gets rid of lands. Yeah, so we might as well put mana into the animation module again. Sacrifice another Servo. And we'll get this Ruric Thar player out of the game. Alright, well, Ruric Thar deciding to scoop in response, so that means we can throw some damage around elsewhere. Now, I think Azusa is actually going to be of some use to us here, because this Moat is going to stick around, and we're not going to be able to attack in, so I think we need to keep Azusa. Let's just deal some damage to... Oh, Verdant Force is going to stick around as well. Let's kill off the Bloodghast, because it's going to die anyway. And we'll deal 1 damage to Oloro. And then another damage to Oloro, and we'll regrettably sacrifice our own commander. And that's it. All our ramping has been undone by a Cataclysm. Oloro clearly wanting to drag the game out for way longer than it ought to be dragged out. Keeping a Golos and a Verdant Force, because Golos is an artifact, so that counts there. We've got Azusa. We can keep the Skull Clamp because of our Bloodghast. Yeah, I think we have to keep Skull Clamp. And the only enchantment that we have. And then how about a land? We'll keep this one because it gives us more landfall. We'd really love to get into Raminap here. Okay, so there we are. Back to square one. Verdant Force triggers again. That is going to help Golos to take over the game here, I think. Everyone's got a full grip, though. And playing into a Myriad landscape, so they may well be able to get back into it themselves, actually. Alright, we've got an Earthcraft there. We don't have the squirrel thing, though, do we? We can go for Cultivate, though. Oh no, we can't, because Field of the Dead will come in tapped. Alright, Alright, well maybe it's just Sakura Tribelder then. Let's shock this in. Say yes to the Blood Gas coming in. Now has Summoning Sickness thanks to there being no life totals. We could actually just try and draw into another land, couldn't we? We've got 2 more to draw, or 2 more to play with Azusa. So let's instead go for the Skull Clamp thing that we've been doing all game. Alright, get into some untapped lands, that's really good. So we can go 1. Trigger the Bloodghast again. We're not going to clamp it this time. And we'll go 2 there. We'll have to forego the landfall from Wooded Foothills, unfortunately. Shocking another Shockland. Then we'll go for Cultivate. And we'll grab a black and a green. Green comes in tapped. And then we're going to have to discard a bunch of stuff, unfortunately. So what do we want here? That's a combo piece. And we could go for... No, we need a couple more pieces, actually, for that combo. Yeah, let's just get rid of that. And that... Getting up to double mana as soon as possible is the thing here, I think. Oh yeah, I think we have to keep a tutor. Yeah, we'll get rid of Doretti. 3 more after this. I don't want to get rid of lands because I don't know how many more we've actually got to choose from. Getting into Ramunap might be an idea. Let's get rid of Bitter Blossom. Earthcraft, I don't know if that combos actually. Well, it's infinite mana. No, we'll have to forego that as well. And let's... don't like getting rid of Grave Pact, but we're just after accelerating way past our opponent at this point. I might even strip mine that command tower. And in Jund colours, we should be able to get rid of the moat, but and a myriad landscape of Oloros coming down as well. Golos is actually going to be able to crack theirs this turn, if they can drop a land. They've got a full grip, so I would think they would be able to. This Verdant Force would be reaping havoc if it wasn't for that moat. Immediately cracking the Myriad Landscape. Alright, we get into more mana here. We can play all 3 of our lands. Do we want to go for the Zendikar Resurgent? I think that would be a good idea. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. With Field of the Dead as well. Yeah, let's go for that here. Triggering Field of the Dead with every landfall trigger now. Now let's see how many more lands we can grab with this fetch. Oh, only 1, that's lucky. We've got Ancient Tomb, Command Tower, another fetch, Reliquary Tower, Rogue's Passage, Rootbound Crag. Spire Garden is not fetchable. Right, we've got a forest. No swamps. And only 1 mountain, so that is worth remembering. We've only got a snow-covered forest left to fetch, as far as I can tell. Actually, only got 42 cards left in the library. So let's go for the Zendikar Resurgent. And the aim is to just outramp our opponents and take over the game at this point. Although zombies have haste, but we can't swing in again, thanks to the moat. Really need to find an answer for that. Might even tutor for one. And if we can get rid of moat and have both ourselves and Golos take out the Oloro player, then I may use the Strip Mine to screw Golos' mana, so that that ability can't be used. Alright, going for a Talisman. So they will be able to activate this thing, but if we're after going wide, and our opponent's after going wide with a bunch of creatures, then this won't necessarily be as useful to them as they might like. Okay, a Conjurer's Closet. Well, that'll work nicely with their Golos. Yeah, and we don't have enough creatures to get rid of Golos. Not enough creatures to... yeah, if we had 1 more zombie, I certainly don't want to get rid of Azusa. So Golos is going to get an activation here. Going for a Maze of Ith. Yeah, to keep any big creatures from swinging in at them. They might be worried about... Yeah, they're probably thinking of our commander there. Alright, we get into another land, which is good. Let's go Skullclamp before we play that land. Really looking for some answers here. Thrashing Brontodon, that gets rid of the moat, so that'll do. And we've got haste on our stuff as well. Let's play the Rootbound Crag. And we'll get as many zombies into play as possible to start swinging in at Oloro. Clamp onto Bloodghast again. Get into a land, we've got Grave Titan with haste as well, so that sounds like a good idea to me. Trigger Field of the Dead and Bloodghast some more. And we need to hold up preferably the Strip Mine and enough mana for Grave Titan as well, so that's 3, 4, 5 and 6, so yeah, let's go for the last forest in the deck. Then we'll just get down the Grave Titan now before I... Oh no, actually we can't go Grave Titan, can we? Thanks to... Yeah, we have to go Thrashing Brontodon first, forgot all about that. Oh no, also we've got double mana, yeah. My brain's all over the place here, so we should have enough mana, now that I think about it. We'll draw a card from Zendikar Resurgent. Get into a Rogue's Passage, I think we can play that. Let's crack this and go after the moat. And then the Oloro scoops immediately. Fair enough. So can we go for Prossh here? Sacrifice another creature. I think it might be best for us to just go for our Korvold. Yeah, it will have haste, so let's just see if we can get something going here. Down comes the Korvold. We get into Eternal Witness as well. And we have to sacrifice a permanent here. Yeah, okay, let's sacrifice the Bloodghast. Get a plus counter. If we play the Prossh, that might do it. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18... Maybe not. 19, yeah. If I'd played my Korvold before sacrificing lands and stuff, maybe we could have done it. Let's just play a land here. We might be able to do it if we get enough Field of the Dead and Bloodghast triggers. We'll draw a card with Zendikar Resurgent. We'll get a bunch of creatures into play with Prossh. Now, I think it's commander damage we want here. So if we sacrifice 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16... That's exactly enough, isn't it? Yeah, so let's go Goblin Bombardment onto that Verdant Force. And every time we sacrifice something with the Goblin Bombardment, we are going to put a plus counter onto our Korvold. And I think we've got just enough cards left in the library to do this. 10 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to do it. I'm going to aim some removal at Golos now as well, because I'm not too sure. I don't think our opponent can actually recast the Golos. And I certainly don't want them getting double activations off of a Conjurer's Closet. If they want to do that, they're going to have to spend their mana on their commander. Then start getting rid of some Saprolings as well. And hopefully we've got, by the look of the draw, exactly enough to take our opponent out with 21 points of commander damage. We have to sacrifice something else in response. Let's just get rid of a forest. Oh, and I forgot, yeah, it triggers on attack as well, so even if we only had 20 points, we would have been able to go up to 21 after the attack anyway. And a big thank you to my opponent for being so patient through that. we had at least 2 players that were patient enough to play through the Cataclysm and the Moat and the Chaos Storm, whatever it was. Apologies to my opponent. I don't know if they're a friend of the channel or not. A big thank you to them for playing it out anyway, like I said. They asked me why I sacrificed my commander, and the reason is because I had Ozar in play. And I had my fingers crossed that I would draw into Ramunap. But now, oh, I'm actually looking over at the deck list. I don't think I have Ramunap in the deck, so much for that. Yeah, I had my fingers crossed for drawing into Ramunap, which is a Crucible of Worlds on legs, so that we could play these lands out of the graveyard. But failing that, we draw into a bunch of lands like we did, and we can play those multiple lands a turn. We actually had the Skull Clamp and Bloodghast combo online throughout the entire game, which is the only thing that kept us in the game. So if we can carry on drawing into lands, I can make way more lands with Ozar than any of my opponents can. And that means that we just get into more ramp faster, we get into more cards faster, and we get into replaying our commander faster than our opponents can. So that's the reason I sacrificed Korvold and left Ozar in play there. We just had to try and accelerate into a victory as fast as we could. Certainly faster than an Esper player was going to, because they can't get many lands down as quickly as either Golos or, well, any green deck can. But there was no real aim there for the victory, to be honest. It just kind of worked itself out based on the cards that we drew. Had we have drawn more cards throughout that game, we wouldn't have been able to get that victory off as fast as that, because every time I was sacrificing a creature there, we were actually drawing a card, and I think I only had like 14 cards left in the library. I'm actually looking at the lobby now, so I can't see how many cards we had left in the library. But we had a strip mine for that Maze of Ith, so if we weren't going to get a victory off that turn with commander damage, then we probably could have done it the turn after. But I don't know what our Golos friend over there had in store for us. Maybe they had spot removal or a board wipe or something. So it just panned out alright for us in the end. And it just goes to show why you shouldn't necessarily scoop to something like an Armageddon or a Cataclysm. As much as I hate those cards, sometimes it's just a last ditch effort to try and drag the game out long enough to get back into it. But that didn't pan out for our Oloro player this game, so much as I don't like those cards, just try every once in a while to play through it, because you never know, you might pull together a victory, and it's all the more sweet when you force an Oloro player to scoop after wiping the board of lands. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.